If you have walked into a middle school classroom lately, or scrolled TikTok for more than a minute, you have probably seen it. Someone yells out the number 67 for no reason at all. A kid says it in the middle of a test. A comment section fills up with nothing but 67, over and over. It is one of those internet jokes that makes no sense if you ask why. It just is what it is, a bit of harmless brain rot that drives teachers a little crazy. Here is the strange part. Take away the meme completely, wipe your memory of TikTok, and just look at the number 67 as a mathematician would. It is still one of the strangest, most stubbornly interesting numbers you will find under 100. Mathematicians have spent real careers studying properties tied to this exact number. Not because it is funny, because it sits at the crossing point of at least 4 separate ideas in number theory, and some of those crossings still do not have an explanation. So today we are going to do something the meme never bothers to do. We are going to actually look at 67, not as a joke but as a number, and follow it all the way down to a mystery nobody has solved yet. Now, you might already be suspicious. If you grab literally any number and invent enough weird definitions for it, of course it is going to look special. Give me any number, and I could probably find 3 or 4 odd facts about it, too. So is 67 actually deep, or are we just cherry-picking labels to make it sound impressive? That is a completely fair question, and you are right to ask it. So here is the promise for this video. We are not going to just list random trivia and move on. We are going to look for something that connects these properties, something that would still be true even if nobody had ever bothered to name it. If a real thread runs underneath all of this, 67 earns its reputation. If it does not, we will say so. Let's go find out. Let's start with the first property, something called a Pillai prime. Before the definition, 2 quick building blocks in plain language. First, a factorial. When you see a number with an exclamation mark after it, like 18 factorial, that just means multiply 18 by 17 by 16 and keep counting down all the way to 1. It is a way of writing a truly enormous number without spelling out every digit. Second, remainder. When we say one number is congruent to another, modulo some third number, we just mean they leave the same remainder when you divide by that third number. That's it. No more mystery than long division from grade school. Now the definition. A prime number p is called a Pillai prime if there is some smaller counting number, call it n, where n factorial plus 1 is evenly divisible by p, but p itself does not leave a remainder of 1 when divided by n. Let's make that concrete with 67 itself. Choose n equal to 18. Multiply everything from 18 down to 1, then add 1. That giant number turns out to be evenly divisible by 67. Now check the second condition. Take 67 minus 1, which is 66. Does 18 divide evenly into 66? 18 times 3 is 54. 18 times 4 is 72. 66 sits right in between, so no, it does not divide evenly. 67 passes both tests. It is officially a Pillai prime. This property is named after Subbiah Sivasankaranarayana Pillai, an Indian number theorist working in the first half of the 20th century. In 1950, he was invited to the International Congress of Mathematicians at Harvard. He never made it. His flight crashed near Cairo, and the world lost him at just 49 years old. It is a small, quiet anchor before we move to the property that actually made mathematicians sit up. Here is where things get genuinely strange. In 1956, 4 researchers named Stanislaw Ulam, Nicholas Metropolis, Verna Gardner, and R. Lazarus were playing with a different kind of number filter, not the one you learned in school for primes. Something new, called the lucky number sieve. Picture a long line of people standing at a club, and a bouncer walking down that line. This bouncer does not care who you are or what your name is. The bouncer only cares where you are standing. Start with every counting number in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Step 1. The bouncer walks the line and removes everyone standing in every second spot. That just means we cross out all the even numbers. What's left is only odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and so on. Step 2. Look at the first number still standing after the number 1. That's 3. So now the bouncer removes everyone standing in every third spot of this new, shorter line. Count to 3, and that third person goes home. In our example, that clears out 5, 11, 17, 23, 29, and a handful more. Step 3. The next surviving number is 7. So now we remove everyone in every seventh spot of the current line. That knocks out 19, then 39, then 61. Step 4. Next number up is 9. Remove every ninth spot. 27 and 57 go. Keep repeating this, using 13, then 15 as the next removal spots. 45 goes. 55 goes. Through this entire process, 67 keeps getting passed over. It never happens to land on an unlucky spot. By the time we have finished all these rounds, 67 is sitting as position 16 in what remains. And here's the beautiful part. The next removal round would need to clear out every 21st spot. But there are only 17 numbers left standing at all. 21 is bigger than the entire line. There is no 21st spot to remove. 67 is safe, forever. It has survived every cut this sieve will ever throw at it. That officially makes it what mathematicians call a lucky number. Notice something. Nowhere in this entire process did we multiply anything. We never checked for factors, never divided anything to test for primeness. This is pure counting, pure position. And yet, watch what happens next. Step back for a second and compare two different worlds. Prime numbers come from multiplication. A number is prime if you cannot break it apart into two smaller numbers multiplied together. That is a rule about factors, about how numbers combine. Lucky numbers come from something else entirely. Pure position, pure counting. Nothing about multiplication enters the process at all. Two completely different rule books. No reason on paper for them to have anything in common. And yet, when mathematicians studied huge lists of lucky numbers and huge lists of primes side by side, they found something that should not happen by coincidence. Lucky numbers show up with almost exactly the same density as primes do, following the same law, called the prime number theorem, that describes how primes thin out as numbers get bigger. Lucky numbers even come in twin pairs sitting two apart, the same way primes do, at close to the same rate. 67 happens to be both. It is prime, born from the multiplication rulebook. And it is lucky, born from the pure counting rulebook. Here is the honest part, the part where a lot of number theory videos stop being honest with you. Nobody has proven why these two unrelated processes end up producing such similar patterns. We can see it happen every time we run the numbers. We just cannot yet explain why it has to happen. This is one of those rare spots where mathematics runs into its own edge. We are standing right at the border of what is known, looking out at something we can measure perfectly but still cannot fully explain. That mystery alone would be enough for one video, but 67 keeps going. Take 67 and add 2. You get 69. 69 is not prime. Split it apart, and you get 3 times 23. 2 primes multiplied together. Mathematicians call a number like that a semi-prime, built from exactly 2 prime factors. A prime number is called a Chen prime if adding 2 to it gives you either another prime or one of these semi-primes. 67 plus 2 gives 69, a semi-prime. So 67 qualifies as a Chen prime. This idea comes from the Chinese mathematician Chen Jingrun, who announced it in 1966. Chen was chasing something much bigger, a famous unsolved question called Goldbach's conjecture, which claims that every even number greater than 2 can be written as the sum of 2 primes. Nobody has proven that yet. What Chen managed to prove instead is a slightly weaker cousin of it, and to this day, his result from 1966 remains the closest anyone has gotten to the full conjecture. Now for the strangest property of all. There is a very short list in mathematics called the Heegner numbers. Only 9 of them exist in the entire universe of numbers: 1, 2, 3, 7, 11, 19, 43, 67, and 163. That's it. 9 and never any more. Kurt Heegner worked out why this list is complete back in 1952, though his proof had a small gap that mathematicians did not fully trust at the time. The gap was closed and the result confirmed by Harold Stark in 1967. 67 is the second largest number on that very short list. Here is why that list matters. Take the number e, a constant that shows up throughout mathematics, and raise it to the power of pi times the square root of 67. Do that, and you get a number that looks like this: 147,197,952,743. 0.999998. Look at how many 9s sit right after that decimal point. This number misses being a perfect whole number by less than 2 millionths. This near miss is not an accident, and it is not unique to 67. Every single one of those 9 Heegner numbers produces a similar near-perfect integer in this exact formula. The effect was first noticed by the French mathematician Charles Hermite back in 1859, decades before Ramanujan was even born, though people often nickname this whole family of near integers after Ramanujan today, since he explored closely related formulas himself. The honest, simplified version of why this happens involves a piece of algebra called unique factorization inside certain number systems built from square roots of negative numbers. I am compressing a lot of real machinery into one sentence there, but the core idea is this: 67 sits inside a number system with an unusually clean, symmetric structure, and that symmetry is exactly what cancels out the decimal part almost perfectly. One more contradiction before we close this out. 67 sits in the middle of a sexy prime triplet, 61, 67, and 73, each one exactly 6 apart from its neighbor. Mathematicians actually call this pattern sexy primes, from the Latin word for 6. At the very same time, 67 is what is called an isolated prime, neither 65 nor 69. Its immediate neighbors 2 steps away are prime themselves. So 67 is somehow deeply connected and completely alone, both at once. So let's go back to where we started. Math is not a pile of random rules someone made up, and it is definitely not a meme with no substance behind it. What we just walked through, factorial remainders, a sieve built from pure position, a near miss on a decimal point that traces back to 1859, a triplet of primes spaced exactly 6 apart, all of that fits together into one surprisingly tight, consistent structure. 67 did not earn its reputation by accident. It earned it by actually holding up every single time mathematicians pushed on it. Some parts we can fully prove. One part, the strange overlap between lucky numbers and primes, we still cannot. That is not a failure. That is just where the frontier currently sits. So next time someone shouts 67 in a classroom, or drops it in your comments for no reason, you will know something they probably do not. You will know it is a Pillai prime, a lucky prime, a Chen prime, a Heegner number, and the middle of a sexy triplet, all packed into one small 2-digit number. If a video like this is the kind of thing that makes numbers finally click for you, stick around and subscribe to Axiom Code. And tell us in the comments which number you want decoded next. It might just be the next one we take apart.